Hi, I'm Brother Jake. Now, there are a lot of people out there that think that religious freedom in the US isn't being consistently and systematically undermined by an unspoken conspiracy of freedom haters, but they couldn't be more wrong. Let me explain. The thing is, religion is a super important part of our society. This is a Christian nation, which we know because the modern-day prophets told us that God inspired the founding fathers to write the Constitution. Plus, religion is what gives us morals. Without religion, how would you know right from wrong? Sure, there are some people out there who think it's possible to use logic and reason and basic concepts of human dignity to decide the stuff like murder and theft and lying is bad, but that doesn't make any sense because we all know that once you start thinking that some of the tenets of morality don't necessarily have to be decreed by an omnipotent creator, you basically accept a world of pure murdering, thieving, adultering, coffee drinking, lying chaos with no rules whatsoever. And since the founding fathers understood that religion is totally necessary for us not to live in a Lord of the Flies dystopian hell, they put freedom of religion into the Constitution. But that freedom is being chipped away at all over the place, like not being able to have the Ten Commandments in front of courthouses or prayers in schools, and don't even get me started on the war on Christmas. And yeah, some people might be saying, but by allowing Christian symbols on state-owned property, the government would be endorsing a Judeo-Christian branch of religion over other types of religion like Islam or Buddhism, which is kind of the opposite of what the separation of church and state is supposed to do. And I mean, yeah, they kind of have a point, but the answer isn't to take away all the school prayers and courthouse commandments. What we should do is let all religions put up whatever symbols they want in public places. So parks and schools could all have the normal stuff like a cross and a fish symbol and a manger scene and the Ten Commandments, and all the, other stuff like a Buddha and one of those thingies. And sure, public spaces might start to look a little weird if they were all peppered with a bunch of different religious symbols, but it's all about the freedom, dude. Now, some other people might be saying, but letting religions put up statues all over public property doesn't really solve the problem either, since that implicitly favors the expressions of belief for religious people over people who aren't religious at all. And I mean, yeah, it kind of does, but isn't that the point? I mean, just like I proved earlier in a way that was totally not based in unfounded fear at all, society would become an apocalyptic war zone without religion. So when the Constitution talks about freedom of religion, it doesn't just mean that the government shouldn't endorse a specific religion or prevent a belief from being practiced. It means that the government should make sure that religious speech and expression gets special treatment beyond just regular old freedom of speech, and that religious belief is being actively promoted. That's what religious freedom is. It protects freedom of religion, not the freedom to not be religious. And no, religion is not just a code of ethics or moral behavior, so it doesn't count if you say, well, I believe that we can still reach moral imperatives like not murdering each other by using reasoning and the basic tenets of what makes a society function without relying on a supernatural unseen force. Your morals have to be based in a belief in God to be legit and get super awesome VIP religious freedom protected status. So up to this point, I've only been talking about individuals expressing their religious beliefs in publicly owned places, but you gotta wonder, what about the religious rights of corporations? After all, they're people too. I mean, they're not like people, but their owners are. But it turns out that the government is relentlessly crushing the rights of these helpless businesses too, by doing stuff like requiring them to offer coverage for contraception in their employee health plans, even if that's against the corporation's religious beliefs. And sure, it might seem kind of strange to argue that a large diverse organization made up of people that interact exclusively in the context of conducting commerce can somehow have a singular religious will that can be enforced upon the employees that compose it, especially since none of the employees were actually hired on the basis of their religious beliefs in the first place. But think of it this way, my body's made up of cells, right? And I'm Mormon, even though some of my cells might not be super into Mormonism. But that doesn't mean I should have to drink coffee just because some of my sinner deadbeat cells want to. Now, some of you might think that religious freedom doesn't have anything to do with gay marriage, but it totally does. But it isn't because we hate gay people. We love gay people, especially when they don't act gay or do gay stuff. It's just that we love religious freedom more, and gay marriage is a threat to religious freedom because if the government allows people to legally do something we disagree with religiously, like letting two men get married, it's just a matter of time before they start forcing Mormons to do other stuff that's just as bad, like marrying people to their pets or siblings or refrigerators in our super special VIP temples. And yeah, that might kind of seem like a far-fetched conclusion given the fact that heterosexual marriage has been legal for like ever, and we've never been forced to temple marry any heterosexual couples that didn't adhere to our religious standards. It's still a totally real and not based on paranoia at all threat. Because if there's anything that Mormons don't like, it's people practicing a sexual behavior that society disapproves of. So you see, it's all about the freedom.